Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people complied to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Fair Marks. In the midst of 2020, classes were conducted online, and so were exams. Grades went up due to the ample opportunities to cheat in both quizzes and exams. The students were told by administrators they would be accommodating them to help ease the stress caused by the pandemic. Also, not to hesitate to complain if they felt they were not treated fairly by any faculty member. A number of students took this as an opportunity to blackmail faculty members to give them extra credits. They were citing that they were deprived of actual lectures and laboratory sessions, and they should be compensated by getting extra credits. A student of mine sent me a message saying that she is not happy with her grade, B+, and should have an A+. She was a C- at best before that. I told her I am not giving her marks that she didn't earn. So she ganged up with her classmates and reported me for being unfair to the department. I got an email from the head of the department asking me to clarify the issue, and I sent him a spreadsheet with all of my students' marks to check. Everything of course checked out fine. However, the students went ahead and reported me to the dean, since they didn't get what they hoped for from the department. The dean spoke to the head of the department, and of course everything was fine. When it was time for the final exam, I put over 200 questions on the online questing pool, which mixed the question, and every student will have 20 questions to answer in 45 minutes. So no student will have the same question. I also changed the wording, different synonyms in the questions, so no one can search for the answers in the online lectures using keywords. I also made it so that only if you understand the lectures completely, through and through, not just memorizing, you would be able to answer. When the results came, outstanding students came through with flying colors, while the grades of the rest reflected their actual levels. I didn't hear anyone complaining after that. The next story is called Exactly As I Was Told. I am a forklift driver for a supply company in the automotive industry. This means I am supplying the raw materials to the line, where they would get processed into the final products, like door covers, handles, cup holders, etc. My company has usually 6 to 8 forklift drivers in the morning and midday shift, 6 AM to 2 PM and 2 to 10 PM, and 1 or 2 for the night shift, in which production is basically non-existent. Maintenance, cleaning and tool changes in the machines take place at that time. Today I was assigned to the injection molding line, which is the first and most crucial step of all production in the entire location. If this line stands, the entire factory stands still, costing about 1200 euros per minute in material losses, plus wages. The thing is, due to the pandemic, vacation season and the heat wave, the production was slowed down considerably from, as my workplace states, 120% to 70%. So we are already short-staffed, even for 70%. Instead of 6 to 8 forklift drivers, we were 3. 1 for the injection mold, 1 for the attached warehouse and 1 for the assembly. This means nobody unloads or loads the trucks that are frequenting the factory. In their downtime, so in the midday shift, the entire shift, usually the manager would be required to handle these tasks. As one of the faster workers, I help where I can in assembly, cause my station and assembly are right next to each other. Management sees it and thinks that my station has a problem, as I don't work hard to keep the timing of the machines. They order me to unload 3 trucks and load them as well. Unloading a truck and clearing away the raw materials cost about 10 to 15 minutes. Loading about 5, because the shipment is readied beforehand and put next to the loading bay. This means I couldn't be at my workstation for about 20 minutes. The problem is that the injection molding machine works on an automated schedule and needs to be resupplied exactly every 6 minutes. But being an efficient, lazy worker, I usually prep for about 18 minutes to cut down on travel distance and time if things get busy. I work hard to keep my current task inside said 18 minutes, knowing very well where the blame goes if the factory comes to a standstill because of no supplies. But just as I was about to drive back to my workstation, the manager comes to me and demands that I have to unload and load the next one as well, whilst he takes his 30-minute break. I don't want to, but I am technically not an employee of the company, but a temp worker, which meant that I am not covered under labor laws for the specific workplace I am assigned to. So managers can just tell me not to come to work anymore, without any issue. Sure, my company has to continue to pay me, but I get a €3 bonus per hour on my base pay just to work at this company, which is on a voluntary basis for the contracted companies. So off to work I went. The entire factory came to a standstill just 5 minutes later. but management was out of house on break and I had specific orders to unload and load this truck. And I took my sweet time, since I had a coworker to back me up since he heard the order from the manager. Of course, the manager was absolutely livid as he came back from break, but he couldn't do anything about it because of the coworker that is actually an employee of the company. In the end, it cost the company around 40,000 euros. The last story is called Unloaded Myself. I was a truck driver. I tend to be on the lazy side when I can get away with it, and I searched for quite some time to find a company that would keep me far away from unloading the trailers myself. I found a good one that had a 95% drop and hook rate. Drop off a trailer full of goods, then grab a new one that's either loaded or to take to the next pickup. 4.9% of them are either handled by the receiving dock or by lumpers. Dock workers hired by warehouse companies specifically to unload trucks. 0.1% is a list of places that just want to watch you work or be convinced that you really shouldn't operate their lifts. In my contract, I saw that there was a place where your hourly rate for unloading was stated. Not for the hours that you were sitting and waiting to be unloaded, but for when you were the one unloading your own trailer. I also saw that the contract allowed for alterations to be made to the price of the service to be charged to the customer. As a joke, I put in not one, but 2 extra zeros. $1,500 an hour for unloading a trailer should deter most people. Most people saw that, got a good laugh, then pulled in someone to unload for me. Most people, as I said, were smart. This one was set to arrive at 3 at a certain clothing store in the mall. I'd been to the store a few times before, and it was always the same manager, Mr. Dime, receiving me, and it was always the same runaround. If I wanted to get unloaded, I had to wait for someone to get there. Then I'd have to sit and wait while the poor kid back there got the load off. Then I'd have to wait for traffic to ease up to get out, since it was always almost 10:30 by the time I finally left, leaving me with only a couple of hours left on my clock to get to a truck stop for the day. I got there, and yep, Mr. Dime had come in to accept the load. It was always hard to be smart at 3, and I can only imagine that was part of Mr. Dime's usual runaround. This time was a bit different for a few reasons. 1. He smelled like there was a bit of an thermal calming remedy about him to settle his nerves for the night. 2. He said he was completely understaffed and there was no one around to unload me, so I'd have to do it myself. 3. I couldn't stay my usual time, because he had to leave before 5. To be fair to him, I did try and say, sure, but my contract says, I don't care what your contract states. I don't have anyone in until the store opens, and I've got an appointment that's more important than some trucker's contract. Just unload it yourself. I considered it for a moment and went back up to my truck to get my tablet. This was in 2019, and the company had just swapped over to tablets for certain things, like signing off on expenses or getting permissions. Mr. Dime was fuming when I came back and handed him the tablet. Just read through and sign with your finger. He didn't read through. I had 20 pallets at 1,500 pounds each. The only available tool to unload was a manual pallet jack. I started my work clock and began unloading at 3:15. At 5, Mr. Dime looks on in satisfaction to see me about 3/4 of the way through as he's out the door. At 5:15, Mr. Dime's replacement, Mr. Quarter of the day shift, comes running in with his face white as a sheet to see me taking off the 4th to last pallet. Please tell me that I'm reading this wrong, he pled fruitlessly. I wish I could. I lied, knowing that Mr. Dime was about to be up a muddy creek with a spoon. I even tried telling Mr. Dime what he was getting into, but he just skimmed and signed. He slumped. Wait here. I need to call my district manager. Better be quick. I want to be out of this lot by 6:30 to beat the morning rush and get a good breakfast. He ran back and I continued unloading. When I finally got the last pallet off at 5:50, I turned off my time clock as the district manager came in. He was followed both by Mr. Quarter, who was looking somewhat relieved, and by Mr. Dime, who was somewhere between terrified and furious. You are the driver? The district manager asked, holding a printout and looking at it for the name. That's me, I agreed. I take it they sent over the contract Mr. Dime signed? Yes, and that's just it. Mr. Dime is accusing you of forging his signature on this, since there's no way he'd sign off on a multi-$1,000 contract just to unload a trailer. Especially since he claims you insisted on unloading it yourself. I whistled. That's a heck of an accusation. Hey, is that a CCTV I see up in that corner over there? I asked, knowing full well that the entire loading dock was covered by a slew of cameras. Mr. Quarter, get the footage, said the district manager. We don't have audio, but we do have visual on them. Mr. Dime lost his fury and now just looked petrified. One review later and I was grinning like a loon back in my truck. I called my manager, booked some home time and walked away with enough money to last till the end of the month. The next time I went to that store, there was a new, much more sensible manager who always had a man on staff to unload the trucks. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.